All right, let's get right into it. This isn't going to be your typical explainer. I want you to think of this as more of a direct mentorship session. Just you and me. We're going to unpack a completely new way of thinking, a way for you to find your raw, authentic signal. We're calling it the Catalyst OS.
You know exactly what this feels like, right? You walk into a room, a meeting, some high-stakes event, and the air is just heavy. Everyone's posturing, silently trying to prove they belong. It is absolutely exhausting. So, we're going to talk about what happens when you drop that heavy mask, how it creates this kind of unspoken magnetism that, well, it changes everything.
Okay, so this right here, this is the core idea. I want you to picture a system that literally never sleeps. You've got these frantic, glowing server racks just churning, handling all the data, the logistics, all that heavy lifting with insane AI efficiency. But then, picture the mind behind it all, the human. Still, calm, completely detached from the actual labor, free to just think, to create. That is the new trade. You stop trading your time for money, you start trading it for pure, raw value.
So, that constant performance, that mask, it's a total trap. It's this vicious loop of always needing someone else's approval, you know? Chasing applause just to feel like you're worthy. You see it all the time. People just draining their batteries trying to impress folks who, let's be honest, probably don't even care.
And here's where the difference becomes crystal clear. On one side, you've got that old, busted model of hustle culture. You know the one, where being exhausted is some kind of badge of honor and you're just constantly chasing the next transaction. But on the other side, that's the Catalyst OS. Here, high-level efficiency is the whole point. You operate from a place of internal stability, and you're not just collecting contacts, you're building allies.
Look, this new OS, it wasn't dreamed up in some sterile boardroom or at a weekend retreat. No way. This thing was forged in the fire of a total, complete personal collapse. And it had to be, because you can't fake this kind of presence. It has to come from somewhere real, somewhere raw.
So let's walk through it. Back in 2023, there was a complete deconstruction. I'm talking a betrayal so deep it just ripped away every single false support structure. That collapse, it forced a total rebuild. Not of a business, no, but of the entire mental operating system, right? From scratch. And all that groundwork? That's what laid the foundation for 2026. A year of just absolute freedom and pure execution. And this is the key. You see, that intense pressure, it literally burned away that desperate need for anyone else's approval. It proved that hardship, it really does bring ease. This isn't some abstract, theoretical framework. It's a system that was pressure-tested in the real world, under fire.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? Let's break down the core mechanics of this rebuilt OS.
It really comes down to 4 main pillars. First, you've got to leverage AI to replace all that blind hustling with real, high-level efficiency. Second, and this is big, prioritize value over time. Third, you take all that energy you're saving and you pour it into genuine human relationships. And fourth, you lead. You set a clear vision and you build allies. You don't micromanage employees.
Now, this whole idea of value versus time, it is absolutely crucial. Think of time as just a box, right? A container. What really matters is the substance you put inside that box. I mean, let's be blunt here. Spending 10 hours on some task that an AI could knock out in 12 seconds, that's not hard work. That's just self-sabotage.
And this isn't some future tech fantasy. This is happening right now. For a massive project, something like Sneakerfest 2026, AI agents are already handling the vendor management, the data processing, the ticketing dashboards. The machines are doing the heavy lifting, which frees up the human energy to focus on what really matters, building the relationships that actually move the needle. And don't think this OS is just for business and logistics.
Oh no.
It applies just as much to creative work. Take this comic project, for example, Catalyst: The Awakening. It's being built with a very specific look and feel, Lagos Noir. Think cinematic grit, heavy, industrial textures, really moody stuff. So instead of the old way, drawing every single frame by hand, we're using tools like Midjourney and AI Studio to build the comic's visual DNA. And the goal here is not to replace the creative mind. It's to let the machines amplify it. It's a complete and total rejection of that old starving artist hustle. So, you might be wondering, what's the ultimate payoff here? What happens when you run this new OS in your daily life? Well, it's not just about getting more done. It's way bigger than that. It fundamentally changes how you interact with the world. It creates this kind of unspoken magnetism.
I want you to think of your newfound authenticity as a frequency. It's a signal that you're broadcasting out into the world. And this signal, it acts like a super powerful filter. It just naturally draws in the right people, your allies, the ones who resonate with that clarity. And at the same time, it naturally repels the, let's call them energy vampires. The people who feed on drama and desperation. They just bounce right off.
And the end result? It's like building a fortress. Your inner circle becomes this heavily filtered space, built on a foundation of real trust and psychological safety. You're creating an environment where people feel safe enough to make decisions, to operate freely, because you're not building a team of employees, you're building a network of allies.
Which brings everything back to you. Because this whole system, it's not just some story about someone else, it's a blueprint. And the final step is figuring out how you can build a system around your unique signal, your own gift.
And there's this line from the source that just hits hard. It says, most people die with their music still locked inside them. Man, that's a call to action. Stop performing. Stop trying so hard to be likable. Start aiming for absolute raw authenticity. Find that thing that's unique about you and build a system around it. Protect it. Amplify it.
And really, that's the question I want to leave you with. In a world that is just drowning in noise and static and performance, your authentic signal is more valuable than it has ever been. So the question is, how are you going to drop the mask, step away from all that static, and finally, turn up your volume?